Hey there, hope you're doing good. Let's continue refactoring Futurecam. This time we'll look at this task. Remove use video data output. Oops. So in the mode initializer, the last line is to add the appropriate type of output. But the subclass can do it, and it should because it's specific to the subclass. Similarly in light rail mode, and this should come immediately after this, not after camera changed or something, because that would be a change in the logic. Oh, not video data output, sorry, photo output. Now let's look at the diffs. Burst mode was using video data output. Let's add a comment for each of them. Nothing should be unexplained. So let's make sure the changes are safe. Here we are using a video data output. Here we are using a video data output. Here we are not using a video data output. Here we are not using a video data output. Just trying to quit some background apps in case it makes the recording go better. Let each mode subclass add the appropriate output. So the base class should not have the union of all possible codes, all possible cases. It shouldn't offer like a menu of random things to subclasses and subclasses pick from the menu. That's called a fat interface or a fat class. It should not be the union of all the subclasses functionality, it should be the intersection of all the subclasses functionality. Okay, this is done. Let's look for some TODOs. I'm sure some are low hanging fruit. Yeah, this is bad code. You want to remove everything but this. One is this is repetitive, very easy to have a mistake here. And tomorrow if you add some other camera, for D in AV captured device dot wide dot tele dot front dot ultra wide. I don't know if the Swift compiler accepts it, but yeah, if it doesn't, we'll take care of it. If how do you remove this? I don't know why this is private. Oh, it's private because nobody directly removes. They just add and the class itself takes care of removing things that conflict. If D not equal to, this means identity. It compares the references. You can see that the previous call of 0, 0 was not clear. What is the first 0? What is the second 0? Anytime you see code like that, it's telling you you need to add keyword arguments. So what's going on here? Yeah, why is this in UI device? It has nothing to do with the device. It's not accessing device properties much. This should be a class. Absolute orientation determiner or something. Tracker. So step by step, first this is an op. Second, you don't need to jump to the main queue. Third, you don't need to observe the lens position anymore. Which in turn means this need not be observable this way. Oh, we are observing it. Oops. I'm often impatient, which is something I need to improve. I should have checked the call sites first and only then removed it. And check it in multiple ways. The first search I didn't trigger for some reason. Yeah, this is how we were observing it. I was searching for backslash dot lens position, but it was being observed via slash dot and then device dot. That's why the search didn't match. This is good. Better session. Camera is just like a minor thing. Dead code is removed. A to-do has been updated. Keywords have been put in. Let's just commit this. We can continue working on camera. Fix some to-dos. The question I'm wondering is, do we need to preserve the zoom when you're adding? Or yeah, I think one more thing we should do is, since this is used only in the better session, this can be moved to the better session. Because I don't know if it is preserved when changing cameras. Let me just get my iPhone and check out if the zoom level is not preserved when changing cameras, then we might as well not preserve it, right? Simplify the code. Yes, I just checked out the app. You don't need to preserve the zoom. Like when you write code, you often write it in a defensive manner because you don't know what is needed when. So you're like, if we are changing the format, we should only change the format. But later on, this defensive code may turn out to be unnecessary. So oh, one more thing I should check. What happens when changing cameras? Again, it is reset. Yes. Excuse me. Where are we getting these formats from? This is on the AV capture device, I think. Oh, it's on the AV capture device. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to do it. So when changing the camera, you do want to set it. When adding the photo output, you don't need to set the format because the preset takes care of it. This should be set for video data output, not for photo output, which uses a preset. Okay. So if it's reset elsewhere in the code, there is no need to preserve it here. Yeah, we were looking at TODOs. Let's see if there's any others we can work on. Specifically, what were we working on? I don't. There's something I wanted to look at. Okay, never mind. Actually, oh, I wanted to escape it, but it searched before that. Yeah, let's see if we can work on this. You're checking that it is recording before calling stop recording, but stop recording should take care of that. Yes. So let's not write defensive code unnecessarily. This is what we will do. That was in camera. We'll just remove it. If we have a problem later on, we will fix it. But I don't want to put unnecessary guard statements. Maybe it's already taken care of in a different way. I can't write a more descriptive message here because the change is small and you don't want to explain trivial changes in great detail because it hurts rather than helps readability. So there's a to do at set device, there's a to do at camera change, but before we can fix set device, we need to fix its caller camera change. So first we need to work on camera change. Yeah, let's see if this is workable. This is really bad. You should be setting the device to what it is. Oh, this is called when the user changes the UI element for the camera. So there's a toggle for the different cameras, and when the user selects that, this is invoked. Are we not invoking the preferred camera anywhere? This is odd. Either there are too many commits or the search isn't. Yes. Oh, it's in controls controller. Oh, this is the one. Oh, interesting. It's done at the UI layer, not at the business logic layer, which in our case is the photography layer. So if the user changes, taps one of these toggles, then the camera is changed. Or if the mode is changed, we reset the camera. So either the user can explicitly reset the camera, or he can change the mode and the camera gets reset. And then you enable these toggles. But the problem is, you should not do this. You should query the controller, which is you should query the camera delegate. All this is implemented but not invoked. Strange. I think in camera changed, you shouldn't be setting it to the same device. This is bad design. Like, was it buggy for a long time and I never knew it because I don't have a compiler here? Why are we calling this here? First of all, we shouldn't even be calling it here, because the mode, it should be assigned to camera.mode, then only, yeah, because in case somebody accesses. So if you look at camera, you create a mode, and by the way, this is using the Metaclass. You don't know what type it is, but you're calling init on the class. So depending on the type that is passed, the appropriate class is initialized. Otherwise, you'll have to write a switch case or a if ladder. If it is burst mode, create a burst mode. Else, if it is time-lapse mode, create a time-lapse mode. So the thing is, you shouldn't do much in this initializer, because if it calls some function which calls some other function which accesses the mode, it's not set yet. we already saw in the controls controller that when the user changes the camera or when the user changes the mode, we are calling this. So this is going to call the photography layer either way. So we don't need this actually. See, this is the UI element that is tabbed. IB action is a callback that is invoked by the UI when you tap a button or do something like scroll a view or something like that. You're changing the mode. Where are we actually changing the mode? Somebody has to invoke camera dot change mode. Yeah, this just sends it to the controller. Oh, in the completion handler for the animation, we call change mode. Interesting. Okay. So basically, this comment is valid. So now going back to this question, let's say in long exposure mode, okay, this is fine. I don't know why we are doing this, because the controller already did this. Again, I don't know why we are doing this. Sometimes when you have legacy code with no reason, see here there's a reason, and here. So leave those alone. But the things you can't explain, fix them. If everyone says, oh, I don't know why this code is there, better leave it alone, it will never get fixed. Fix it, test it. If there's a bug, you can fix it. Because otherwise what happens, like you may think I don't want to cause a bug, but if you have bad code, it will cause bugs. This function sets the camera to the one selected in the UI. What's the word to use? Like basically what I mean to say is there's a UI, there's an actual camera. So if you set whatever you want in the UI, but then you're not doing anything, then the UI is a no op. So what I want to say is sets the physical camera. See, this also got fixed now. You're not setting the device to the current one, which would be dumb code. You should set it to the one selected by the user. Okay. This makes sense, this makes sense. This is just a forwarding function. Oh, the frame producer is setting the device. So somebody should be resetting. Because if you go back to the previous search, so basically the principle is that every class should clean up after itself. So if the frame producer, okay, so let me just explain what we are talking about here. Okay, never mind, that will be too much detail into photography, which would only confuse you, would not be relevant for this, because the purpose of this video is not for you to learn photography, it's for you to learn whatever, right, good coding practices and design and so on. So basically this is setting the device in some case, so it should reset it. Yeah, this code we have moved to frame producer. So here when you invoke stop recording, you call stop recording first part, which asks a long exposure blender to complete exposure. Which asks the frame producer to stop recording. So you shouldn't have to clean up after something much lower in the call stack. Every class should clean up after itself. Okay. This has nothing to do with long exposure mode. This is a video mode, abstract video mode. So we should remove this, but before that we should check is tele. Yeah, it's used only in frame producer. Okay, never mind. Which again makes me think, should this move to frame producer? Does time-lapse mode use a frame producer? I think it does. Oh, it extends an abstract video mode which uses a frame producer. Yes. So everyone except burst uses a frame producer. Okay, let's look at the diffs. We have fixed this. Like earlier, we didn't know why this was there, who was calling it. In fact, I even thought we should remove it. And then I realized this is the one that sets the camera to match the UI. Basically, in any app, you have to sync the model layer or the business logic layer with the UI layer. You need to have some kind of a sync function, and whenever UI elements are changed, you invoke this sync function, which brings the actual logic in sync with the UI. So this should be there. So I don't know if I can type a bigger message here. Can I do it in GitHub desktop? Yes, I can have a summary and a description. Can I also stage some lines and not the others in this app? Oh, I can discard one change, but I can't stage one change. Okay. Fix. I think I should start making commits here rather than there in VS Code, because this makes me think about what to put in the summary, what to put in the description. It's just good practice, because if you have only one box, you tend to be lazy and type everything there. At least I tend to be. Fix camera changed. Document that its purpose is to sync the model layer. In our case, the model layer is a photography layer with the UI layer, and make it actually do that. By setting the camera specified by the camera delegate. What else? Make frame producer clean up after itself by calling camera dot camera changed. I think we should come up with a better name. Update camera to match UI. Yes, that would be a better name. In this case, for example, when frame producer is cleaning it, it's not actually doing anything. Like the camera has not been changed by the user. Let's see. Oh, we can't do global for find replace. Set camera to match UI. Because earlier this code didn't look obviously wrong. Okay, camera change, whatever, I don't know what we are doing, I don't know why we are doing it types. Now what we are doing is we are, because if this name was here and you read this code, you would say, wait, we should ask the UI code which camera is selected, something is wrong. You know, wrong code should look wrong. And now with this name, a reader will verify that it is asking the UI layer. this should be committed first. You need to update the description as well. Oops. I can't expand this. Maybe it is discouraging me from typing an essay here by making this box small. Push. And it's done. Let's go back to VS Code, see what else we can do. Yeah, let's close all these tabs first, otherwise they tend to accumulate. Are there any TODOs? Yeah, the other thing I'm not happy about is we have a property called device. There are two devices which could be different. One is the device used in the session, which is the device that is actually active, and the device selected in the UI, which is given by the camera delegate. Most of the time they are the same, but when they are not, this is ambiguous. But then there are a lot of these things. Are we ever setting the focus mode? We should also look at these setters. Zoom level we are setting as you pinch to zoom. This is being monitored by the UI code to hide the zoom indicator. So when you zoom in, you get a zoom indicator with a value like 1.3x, 1.4x, 2x, 2.5x, 3x as you zoom. And when you zoom out and this becomes true, that UI element is hidden because you don't want it to show 1x all the time. Can you do this in the mode initializer? Okay, we'll do that later. This is the init. This is called when the user taps to focus. This is called by the mode. This is being used. Focus mode. So you should do focus mode equal to. Oh yeah. But then why is it here? Oh, it's key value observable. Is it actually being key value observed? Yeah, let's just look at all the things that are KVO and verify that they're actually being observed. So specifically, we are starting with focus mode. Did I get the reject syntax correct? Yes. So focus mode need not be OBJC dynamic, and this is a huge improvement, by the way. Focus mode. This KVO thing, the very messy system, whole bunch of problems with it that you discover one by one by one. It's like buying a defective, I don't know, washing machine, right? You don't know ahead of time and then you're stuck with it. It's like that. And you waste more on the washing machine than, is worth it. If you had known it, you wouldn't have bought it. Oops. Earlier we had a UI element which showed whether it's in autofocus or manual focus mode, but we removed that. I mean, it didn't just show it, it let the user change it, which is why this was needed, so that the UI code listens to this and updates the UI when the focus mode changes. Because anytime you have a UI element and the underlying model layer changes, you need to update the UI element, and when the UI element changes, you need to update the model layer, right? So this was used to observe, and KVO is a system that sends notifications. So when you do this and you do some other things, then whenever you change the focus mode, iOS informs the listeners that this variable changed, and in this case the listener is the UI and it updates the UI, but that's no longer needed. Yeah, this zoom level is being used by the analytics and the preview view. Okay, is zoomed out. Yes. Temperature. Oh, temperature does not need to be KVO observable. Yep. This is how code cleanup is like. It's like one step after another. It's hard work. It's not like coming up with some grand design and refactoring it and you have this really cool commit and everyone will say wow. It's more like, yeah, it's like cleaning your house, a bunch of dumb things to do which can be frustrating if you're annoyed or impatient or you think why am I doing this, but actually you have to do it. Okay. That animation is good, brings a sense of completion. Lens position we have checked. Is session running? There won't be too many results. We do have a KVO observer. I don't know why you would use this for this, because the session cannot change. Like, what are you going to get by KVO observing it? This is odd, but we'll get to it in the order. We are done with each session running. We'll look for device. Yes. Okay. Removing KVO will not be so hard because there are just a couple of callbacks for each of the properties. So you can just do it manually. Okay, never mind, at least for some. So we are done with device. Let's look at session. Yeah, looks like no one KVO observes session. Like they may observe each session running. Ah, that requires a KVO on this. Okay, never mind. For now, we'll leave it. Current. Why on earth would someone KVO observe something that's private? Yes, they don't. Exposure bias. Oops. So you can see this is a problem because in some cases we have an explicit callback when the UI changes. Like we have this function to set camera to match UI. We rely on an explicit callback. But in other cases, like when the exposure bias changes, we use KVO to listen to the UI. We shouldn't do this. We should do it consistently. Either we should use KVO to monitor all UI changes and implement them at the photography layer, or better, we should not use KVO at all. So, okay, that's something we'll work on. Yeah, this is again absolute orientation. I'm sure this is used. Yes. Mode selector. Why would you KVO observe a UI element? You KVO observe a value like the zoom level or the recording duration of a video. Very odd. Okay. Anyway, it's private. I think at one point it was being shown in the UI how many frames are taken. But I think that only confused people, because from their point of view, a long exposure is one photo. It just takes a long time to capture, but it's only one photo logically. At the implementation level, it's multiple photos. But people get very confused. They think that taking multiple photos and multiple photos will be saved to the photo library, the gallery. But actually multiple photos are taken and combined into one using the algorithm, which is too much complexity for the user. This is where in UX we talk about the concept of a user's mental model as distinct from the implementation model. So there are two different ways in which you can look at it. Every app is an illusion, and users should be allowed to believe in the illusion. My god, syncing changes also takes a long time. Okay, what else can we do? Yeah, we'll just take a stab at the KVO. Now is as good a time as any for this. Let's start with one task. Is session running? So this comment, oh, I'm happy it gives a reason. I used to think that the Futurecam UX is good. Looking at it today, it's not. Right, so once you're done with session dot start running, it is synchronous and blocks until the session starts running. So you don't need to do this. Instead, we can just do it explicitly. Oops. We'll need to fix whoever is calling became active. Session started. And here, at the end of all this, we'll inform the main controller that the session has started. It has actually started in line 59 itself, but let's do whatever other things we need to do and then inform the main controller. Oh, this is not just once. Okay, okay. Again, I did changes in the wrong order. Let's undo all of this and start from scratch in a proper manner. First, we are going to look at what was the search we did, not this. Is session running? We want to remove KVO. Let's do that. Let's focus on just what we need. Not fix everything. Became active observer. Oh, I thought this monitors iOS notification for becoming active. Okay. This is a bad name. Wait, it's an iOS notification. Oh, let's see what this does. Became active. Right, when the app has become active, we call this notification. Right, I think iOS stops the session when we go into the background. So I suppose it is okay to use KVO to observe iOS stuff, because that is the only way to observe it often in iOS. Oh, there's also a notification. Nice. We can observe this instead of is running. Yes, that would be a better way. So here, this is no longer KVO observable, and this is fine. In main controller, instead of doing this, you don't even instead of doing this, what you do is nice of Apple to both provide a notification and KVO. So this one you just do it once when you start up, and it has nothing to do with the camera, it has nothing to do with this. Yeah, here you just add the correct one. AV capture session dot this giant name. It's not became active, it is, what is the name now? Session, no. Oh, we don't even have an NS key value observation anymore. Awesome. Using session started. You don't need this in the main controller because it will never get deallocated. This highlighted code is just noise. It confuses people. It's dead code that doesn't execute or make a difference. Like this code path never executes. It will never return here. This is bad code. It's dead code. So session started. Remove blur on session start is called only once. Yes. So basically we can just collapse all of this stuff. So this is clear. You have just removed KVO. Here what have you done? You have removed this local variable. Then you have removed these two things. You have combined them into one. When the session has started, this is again not necessary because that is posted only when the session starts. Again, one more simplification. The name itself says, right? See how much simplification there is. There are like so many levels of indirection. First, in the old code, you first observe a notification, then you register for KVO, then when the KVO triggers, you again check something, then you do something and you invalidate. Instead of doing all this roundabout stuff, you have a simple function. And you observe what you want. Awesome. Remove KVO for each session running. Maybe we can also remove each session running, but that happens in the next commit, if at all it happens. Yes, you can. This is better than trying to do too much and kind of having problems, because suppose this change was made in error, you can always undo just this commit. I perhaps don't need a sentence to end this. OBJC dynamic. Okay, let's see what else we can remove. This is straightforward to remove. In the setter, you can just call the delegate and say zoomed out. Actually, you don't even need this. We are monitoring the zoom level anyway. So, you are updating the zoom button anyway based on the zoom level. And if you are fully zoomed out, yeah, it's the same thing, right? This will change. So suppose you are at 1 point, suppose you have zoomed in, you are at 1.8x, then you are zooming out, it may come to 1.5, then 1.4, then 1.1, then 1. Here we are anyway removing it. See, it's not used. I mean, let's just remove the KVO here. In camera, the property is still there. I thought removing KVO will be a super complex involved task, but yeah, like I said earlier, each of the properties that is being observed has only one or two uses, so it's straightforward. So these two changes are just about removing KVO. The property is still there, it's just not key value observable. Okay, now do we need to? Are we ever setting the video zoom factor except via this? Nope, we are reading it. Okay, nice. So here we can trigger a notification. Let's search for zoom level. Oh, these are just reads. Oh, this is the 188. What's happening in 188 here? Oh, okay. I think this is one of those things that requires implementing our own KVO alternative. Yeah, turn off multiple cameras. This is one thing we should first work on. Is it not there anymore? Controls, controller. So this refers to like the photography controls that you see. What are we talking about here? Turn off. Okay. This is dead code. Now you don't need this. Now you don't need to jump to main queue. Now you don't need to observe this. Now you don't need to add observers on camera. Yes, we were searching for zoom level. I think one of these should be gone. Yes. So now it's just analytics and preview view. Okay, that's not a problem. I think we have done more than enough work for one video. So let's resume in the next video.